Good evening, everybody. I'll call the October 18th, 2023 regular meeting of council to order at 5:30 p.m. And I hope we're doing a test mic with this one. Is it coming across all right? Everybody can hear me? Great, thanks. We have actually a fairly light agenda tonight. There's no statutory planning meetings. There's no closed session meetings. And on the open session, there's only, I think, 4 staff reports. But we do have 3 delegations. We'll get to the delegations in after a little bit of normal procedure in a few minutes here. Introduction of amendments to the agenda.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. A motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting of October 18th be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. I do have a declaration from Councillor Van Breda with respect to the following items. Item 7.1, which is the report expanding access to veterinary care in Northern Ontario. Item 8.3, which is the delegation respecting expanding access to veterinary care, as well as item 8.2, the delegation from Slurpsy.
Very good, thank you. And we have some minutes to adopt. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 17th, 2023 and September 18th. Sorry, did I say September? May 17th? Did I get that? Yeah. Those were the ones that were revised, I think. May 17, 2023 and September 18, 2023 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Boone. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And a motion that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on May the 30th, 2023 be received. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Costco. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And a motion that the May 25th, 2023 Northwestern Health Unit Board of Health minutes be received. The June 23rd, 2023 Northwestern Health Unit minutes be received, and the August 18th, 2023 Northwestern Health Unit Board of Health minutes be received, and the July 27th, 2023 Kenora Home for the Aged minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Discussion. Councillor Timpson.
One question about an item in the minutes of the Kenora Home for the Aged. I noticed that the staff cost for 1 month was over $2 million. How many facilities are included in that?
I think they have 3 facilities and 680 beds in that range, I think.
3 facilities?
3 facilities, yeah. 2 in Kenora, 1 in Dryden.
Okay. Is that fairly standard, $2 million a month or 3?
I'd have to do some math.
It just struck out as me as it's very high.
We can have staff pose a question to them.
Okay,
How's
thank
that?
you.
Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. 7.1, expanding access to veterinary care in Northern Ontario, and I will lift this because we'll do that after the delegation. We'll then have a discussion on that one. It's time sensitive. 7.2, update to downtown revitalization study. Councillor Costco. 7.3, 2023 municipal operating budget to actual as of September. Councillor Lego. And commercial property valuation, 7.4. So lifting 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. And we'll have a motion to adopt the items not requiring separate discussion, which is 7.4. Moved by Councillor Bone, seconded by Councillor Costco. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And now we'll move to delegations. And we have 3 delegations. The first one is Food Cycler Food Waste Diversion Pilot Program Survey Results Presentation. And CIO, I'll ask you to introduce that.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, thank you very much. Council will recall a number of months ago, it supported the Food Cycler Pilot program. From all indications, it was quite successful, and Farah is here with us today from Food Cycler, who is going to provide a recap of the pilot and share some of the results and outcomes. So, with your permission, we'll turn things over to Farah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am going to share my screen, and then we can go through the presentation today. Great. Is everyone able to see? Perfect. Great. Thank you so much again for having me this evening. My name is Farah, and I work as Municipal Coordinator at Food Cycle Science, and here to present the results of the Food Cycler pilot program that was run in Sioux Lookout. And before we launch into, there we go, before we look at the data, I just wanted to give you another quick recap about our company. Food Cycle Science is a Canadian-based company. We run out of Ottawa, and we're 100% focused on providing food waste diversion solutions using our innovative technology called the Food Cycler. 2022 and 2023 have been really big years for us. We were selected as finalists in Impact Canada's Food Waste Reduction Challenge. And I'd like to acknowledge that your municipality's Food Cycler program was made possible in part due to the federal funding from this program. And as a company, we are proud to say that the Food Cycler is the trusted food waste diversion solution for over 100 municipal partners across Canada and the United States. So when Sioux Lookout joined, you were the 90th municipality to pilot this solution, and we wanted to acknowledge and thank you for your willingness to trial the solution to the longstanding problem that is food waste. So just a quick recap, with support from Impact Canada's Food Waste Reduction Challenge, the pilot program for the municipality of Sioux Lookout included 85 participating households. The net cost to the municipality was $8,500 plus shipping and HST, and your program ran from July to September of 2023. Usage was tracked for 12 weeks during this period to calculate total waste diversion, and participants completed a survey to provide data and feedback, which is what we will be going over now. So we were able to receive 72 responses out of the 85 participants, which is an 85% response rate, which is really great. And the first two questions you'll see here is to give you an idea of what your residents value in terms of greenhouse gas reduction and waste reduction. Your residents rated a 9 out of 10 for how important greenhouse gas reduction is to them, and a 9 out of 10 for how important waste reduction is to them. And when we asked your residents where their food waste currently goes prior to using their food cyclers, a large number of residents answered that at least some of their food waste was going into the garbage, and a smaller number of residents said that they composted all year. And for others, this was really only a possibility in the summer months. So it gives us a snapshot of what people in the community were kind of experiencing in terms of their food waste diversion. So when we asked people in the community why they didn't compost, over 50% chose not to do so because of concerns like animals and pests like bears and raccoons. And a large number of residents also reported concerns about odors and maintenance and space. These answers are mostly in line with a lot of the data we have collected in our municipal programs, and the Food Cycler is a really great solution to this because it's easy to use, it's odor-free, and the byproduct prevents wildlife encounters. Now, just to give you a snapshot of the device division within the community. You had about 55 FC30s and about 30 Maestros or Eco 5, so roughly about a 60-40 split. And based on the data we collected for diversion, of residents who had an FC30 ran an average of 4.05 cycles per week, and residents who had the Maestro or the Eco 5 ran about 4.23 cycles per week. So this is equivalent to 300 kilograms of food waste per year per household being diverted by using the food cycler, which is about 25.6 metric tons of food waste from the 85 food cyclers being diverted from the landfill. And this is equivalent to preventing 33.2 metric tons of CO2e equivalents compared to disposing of that food waste in the landfill. When we asked residents the number of garbage bags they were generating per week prior to using their food cyclers, it was 1.5 bags per week. And after using their food cycler, they reported that they were now generating 0.98 bags per week, which translates to residents generating 0.52 fewer standard garbage bags per week for their households, which overall in a year is a reduction of 27.2 garbage bags that are not being trucked to your local landfills. And some of the comments that residents made, as you can see here, they said that they enjoyed the process and they noticed it made a real reduction to their garbage amounts. And they were also enthused that they could add it to their soil. And this other resident mentioned that they anticipate that during the winter months, there would be less of a concern about odors, so they would only be putting out 1 bag of garbage every 3 weeks. Now, when we asked residents whether increased awareness of food waste motivated them to waste less food, the overwhelming majority said yes, it did. And when people are managing food waste at home, they're more aware of how much they're wasting in the first place. And we always say the most effective strategy is to not generate any food waste in the first place. So the awareness that comes with the program is incredibly important. And though it can be difficult to put that into very concrete numbers, it is an added value that the solution provides and likely contributed to the reduction of garbage bags in the slide previous. And as well as some comments that residents made here that, you know, it was a great way to help us make a change in their household. And they were also surprised by the amount of recycled food that they accumulated over the trial, and having friends who were really interested in how it was working for them in their households. Now, when we asked if the food cycler was large enough for the quantity of daily food waste that was being generated, 82% of people who had the Maestro or Eco 5 said yes, it was the right size. And out of those that chose the FC30, about 55% of people said that it was the right size. In previous pilots where we've only had the FC30 as an option, we've seen anywhere from 40 to 65% of people say that it was the right size for their households, which indicates that offering a larger size, offering the Maestro, would double the capacity, really greatly increase resident satisfaction and also increase their ability to process food waste in their home. That being said, 45% of residents who chose the FC30 still said that they wished it was larger, which indicates that price is a factor in their choice of device. So there is always the option of residents being able to purchase a second bucket, which will effectively double the capacity of their FC30s. An FC30 is 2.5 liters, so it doubles the capacity to make it 5. And it keeps things clean for them. And this is something that they can access through the municipal accessory store for a discounted rate for municipal residents. Now, when we asked residents if they had noticed an increase in their electricity costs during the time that they used their food cycler, we had about 3% saying that they did notice an increase, and about 47% of residents reporting that they were unsure. This typically indicates that any costs or increases in their electricity costs were really negligible or not noticeable, and you can see 50% of residents said that no, it didn't really have any impact on them. And when we asked residents if the municipality were to continue to offer a food cycler at low or no cost, whether they thought that, their friends and neighbors would be interested in participating. And you have about 93.9% of residents indicating that that would be the case. And a couple of comments that they've made is, they think it's a great program and it would be nice to see more people having access to food cyclers. And offering the same program in the future will be of value, as a few people they'd spoken to in the community hadn't heard of the program and were genuinely interested. And when we asked if they would recommend the food cycler to others based on their own experience, an overwhelming 90.77% people said they did. And of course, as the comments below indicate, they love their food cycler and they would recommend it to others. And having people visit homes that had food cyclers in them really piqued interest and a genuine curiosity on how this could help them address their own food waste diversion strategies. And when we asked if residents would continue to use their food cycler after the pilot, 100% said yes. And it speaks to the success of the program, and this level of participation really far exceeds any other organic waste management solution out there. For example, the Green Bin program in Ottawa has only got a 57% participation, despite it being in the city for a very long time. And when we also look at backyard composting, which is available to everyone with the space to do so, the rate of adoption has been stagnant for over a decade or so. And when we look at the composting adoption rates in Sioux Lookout itself, you can see it's quite low. So it's a very encouraging number to see 100% of participants and residents willing to continue to use their food cycler and adopt it in their own waste diversion strategies. And overall, residents rated the program a 4.6 out of 5 stars, with 70% of your residents rating it at 5 stars. This really is a testament to all the work that's been done by the municipality to get this program running and to get it implemented in the community. And there are a couple of comments here that says, they thought it was an incredibly beneficial and forward-thinking move of the municipality. They really wanted to thank you for introducing the initiative, and eliminating food waste was easy for residents compared to the hassle it can be when you don't have an option. And well, they said there's no downside. So. And in the survey, while we look at the feedback that we get from residents, we also like to be able to present a couple of constructive comments about the program and what we can learn from in that process. So a couple of comments here focus on the affordability of the program, ensuring that it can be accessible to a wide-ranging number of community members, and a couple of comments around whether this could be implemented for larger businesses or grocery stores, and also having an opportunity for people who do not necessarily have a garden to use their byproduct in, to have a collection depot or a way for them to be able to donate their byproducts so they could be used in community gardens or other gardens within the community as well. So just to recap, you have had 25.6 metric tons of food waste being diverted from the landfills per year with the 85 food cyclers that are in the community. Residents reported a 0.52 bag reduction per week, which equals to 27.2 bags per resident per year of food waste being diverted from landfills, and 100% of your participants will continue using their food cycler. Now, you have 85 food cyclers in the community. In terms of next steps, it could be an opportunity to expand the pilot in 2024, or for us to create a custom program that would be designed specifically around the needs of your community. And that's something that we would be very happy to discuss along the way after our presentation. And once again, we wanted to thank you for being a part of our food waste diversion strategy, and to also let you know that we are currently in the final stage. We're in stage 3 of the Impact Canada Food Waste Reduction Challenge. And hopefully we'll be able to win a $1.5 million grand prize. And as one of our implementing partners, you have first right of refusal for any of the funding that we're able to get through Impact Canada that we would be reinvesting to our municipal partners. So that's something that we're very excited about, and hope we can be able to continue to grow with our municipal partners as well. And that's everything from me. And are there any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Council, comments, questions? Councilor Van Breda.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just about to say, I know a friend who was a part of this project, and she said that it was great. She said that like I think she was one of the one who put food waste in her garbage. So she was nice to saying like, now I have an alternative to just putting it in the garbage. And so she said that this is probably gonna save me money in the long run, not having to buy as much bag tags from the town. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's excellent.
Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, what has been the response from other communities that have taken on the program and done the questionnaire?
Sorry, I didn't catch the last part of your question.
Yeah, what has been their response in the surveys of the other communities that have taken this on?
We've had incredibly good response rates. So usually anywhere from 70 to 98%. We've had a few response rates that are at 100%. So we've got a lot of community members being very invested and engaging and giving feedback to their municipalities on the uptake and the sustainability of the food cycler as an option. And of course, we work a lot with communities who don't necessarily have the option to have green bin programs or blue bin programs. And even if they do have a blue bin program, an organic waste solution is not something that they have the capacity to provide. So engagement is incredibly high in those communities. They're very much invested in being able to give their municipalities feedback about how this could be a long-term viable solution for them. And of course, it depends on the location and the weather patterns, of course, and accessibility for those communities. But it's always been incredibly positive, which is why we've been able to grow as much as we have. We are actually over 100 municipalities. I think we're now at 110 or 115. So it's an incredibly positive process to be a part of, and we're always very much interested in seeing what makes the most sense in the communities that we work for, and that really are going to be addressing pain points and addressing the concerns that the municipality as a whole, as well as the residents within your municipality.
Thank you. Council, anything further? Question for, I guess, the CAO and possibly, I'm not sure, the 25 MT that was diverted. It would be interesting, what percent, the number of total that we, of our waste isn't in my mind. Percentage of total, do you have that number?
I don't, but I could get that for you, so you can.
That's okay. I was asking staff that question, so I wasn't expecting you to have that number.
I tried to do my research, but.
It's all right. And if you don't right now, that's fine.
Lawrence, in 2019, we had a total of 31,292 metric tons.
So this is 31,000, did you say?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
In
it's
2020 it was 25,000.
all right. Thank you. Next steps, I saw on slide 19 there were some options. Does council need to direct staff to bring anything back to us?
Mayor Lawrence, if council is interested in expanding the program or offering the program further, staff can certainly bring back a report looking at what the options are and costs and so on and so forth. So if there's an interest among council to explore that, staff could certainly report back on that.
So I'm going to suggest to count, we have, and I would ask for a preliminary report, not a detailed report, but council, would you support staff bringing back a preliminary report on assessment so far? And on advice, do we want to do anything further? We're not making any decisions other than not asking for a lot of staff time, but just something to get staff's point of view on this.
Very good.
Fair enough, council? You're good with that? Okay, so consider yourself directed. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Item 8.2, Silicon and Region Physician Recruitment and Retention. Presenters Dr. Laurel Laxo and Dr. David Folk. Please come up to the table and we'll just get you set. Like you just told it. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. I'm sure that Acting CAO Brian has let you know, we'll take the presentation and we might have some questions for you, but we make no decisions tonight. We'll look to staff for a report and it'll what you're asking would form part of our budget process and consideration there. But we look forward to your presentation. So the table is yours.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you all. This is a really important issue across the country, physician services. So we're really glad that we can come and talk with you. And we have a presentation which should be up on the screen, hopefully.
Usually this takes a minute or two. It's not a seamless process.
Okay, so my name is David Folk. I'm a family physician and the Slope C Medical Director. I work predominantly now in the north, looking after the IFNA communities. So spend a lot of time north, some days here, and I'll just pass this over to Laurel to introduce herself.
Yeah, thanks, David. So I'm Laurel Laxo. I'm one of the local family physicians. I practice out of the Hugh Allen Clinic in the hospital, and then I'm also the chief of staff at the hospital right now. So thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council, for the opportunity to present to you on this important topic.
Okay, thank you. You're okay? Perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much again. So this is a great picture of Sioux Lookout, and unfortunately, April Derwin, who's the Director of Physician Services, is not available tonight to be here. I'm sure she would have liked to have been here for sure. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, please, which is the agenda. Thank you. So apologies, we have several acronyms here, but you'll get the gist of it as we go through this. So on the agenda, we're going to do an introduction to Slope C Physician Human Resources as they exist now. We will talk about what's happening with recruitment in other northern communities, the Slope C Recruitment and Retention Committee and the work that they've done. There is a request for financial support, please. In addition, a need for volunteers, as well as a summary. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So a lot of work has gone into the production of this document, and I just want to acknowledge everybody who worked so hard on that. Joyce is one of the members who did a ton of work around this. So thank you, Joyce, as well as everybody else. So I'm going to introduce you to Slope C. That stands for the Sioux Lookout Regional Physician Services Incorporation. It's a not-for-profit organization that oversees management of family physician together with specialist services within the municipality of Sioux Lookout and the 31 First Nations northern communities. SLOPC is governed by a board of directors consisting of equal representation from another acronym, SLIFNA, Sioux Lookout First Nations Health Authority, Minayawan Hospital, and the physician groups. On the side, you can see the map of the area that we look after. We take into account about 30,000 people we look after, with a vast geographic area, as you can see. I'm sure many of you have maybe, well, I'm not so sure, but there are several communities you would have heard of. And everybody, the main route of communication and getting to and from communities is by plane, okay? I will move on now to the SLOPC physician human resources that are required to do this work. At present, physicians are funded by the Ministry of Health, and the funding for the region at present consists of 51.5 full-time equivalent family physicians and 13 specialists. Sorry, next slide. Okay. So again, it's the Ministry of Health provides funding. We have funding for 51.5 full-time equivalent family physicians and 13 specialists. We have only 26 full-time equivalent family physicians working in the region. That includes full-time and part-time. And we are blessed and really very fortunate that a lot of the gaps are supplemented extensively by locum physicians. I just want to digress there. Up until about 6 months ago, this was a huge problem, but we've had a massive influx of physicians into the area recently. So our scheduling and filling gaps has improved drastically, which is really quite amazing. And a lot of that goes to the work done by SLOPC and their recruitment and retention, the people that have made that happen, okay? So, however, there are still gaps in the system, and often locums are coming from far away. There's often flight delays, family illness, and so those physicians who don't live in Sioux Lookout can't get here in a timely fashion. And what has happened is that the physician resources that live in Sioux Lookout are called upon constantly, very often, to fill in the gaps for services which include the critical services that I would consider that are most important here in Sioux Lookout, the ER for the hospital, of course the Minayawan Hospital, and in addition the obstetric service, and the 30,000 people north rely extensively on the ability of the hospital and the ER physicians to help when we have to medevac and scadovac people from the north. So it has led to a huge burden on those of the physicians who live here. Laura is one of them. I don't live here. And we are very grateful for having that happen. And I will say, unlike in many other places, the ER has never had to close here, which is unbelievable. Lots of that hard work has gone through Laurel. She's done an amazing job, together with Dean, the CEO of the hospital. So we are in a reasonably good place right now, but I don't know how long that can last. So in Sioux Lookout, we have the Hugh Allen Clinic, which has 9 FTEs. There's a Northern Practice Clinic, which has 11 FTEs. FTE means full-time equivalent MDs, okay? And service the 31 northern communities, 24 hours, together with the Amdocs group that has 6 FTEs. So you can see when we add up all the present FTEs, there's a massive gap and nowhere near filled with 51.5 full-time equivalents or 13 specialists. We have been fortunate that some of the physicians come here as learners, as medical residents. Once they get exposed to the environment, the collegial support, the town of Sioux Lookout, they understand, wow, this is a place I can come and work. And we have had several people come through that system and have actually stayed in Sioux Lookout and enjoy the lifestyle that is available to them. So in Sioux Lookout, which is what we're really needing extra physician support for, there is the Hugh Allen Clinic that provides a lot of family care here, together with the Northern Practice, which provides services for people living within Sioux Lookout, off reserve, and also for follow-up care when some of these physicians from the north come down. All right, so that's the end of my part of the presentation. I'm going to pass it on to Laurel.
Perfect. Thanks, David. Can you move on to the next slide? Awesome. David has done an excellent job giving a summary of the current situation and some of our physician short staffing issues that we've had previously. And a huge amount of credit to David Folk and to April Darwin and Stephen Smith and that team. It's always one of those balancing acts where we try to maintain a certain optimism and stay positive, but we've definitely been in crisis in the last 3 years. And like David said, we've had an explosion of locums recently, which has been excellent. And our goal continues to be to recruit full-time physicians who live in Sioux Lookout. That is ultimately our goal. I've lived here for 6 years now, and so I can speak to how wonderful this is as a community and a place to work. But it's quite a foreign concept to a lot of people who haven't practiced here previously, right? So coming in as a locum is a great way to get your feet wet. But our goal continues to be to bring people in and try to get them invested in the community, to move here, pay property taxes, send their kids to the local schools, those sorts of things. So we continue to work put quite a bit of effort into that end. And that speaks to this slide as well. Because we do know that family physicians are a limited resource. When you look at the kind of work that we do as family doctors, that becomes even more limited because not everybody can do this kind of work. A lot of family doctors aren't comfortable in the emergency department going north, those sorts of things. So certainly all the way across Canada, and especially in northern communities, everybody's coming up with creative ways to try to attract physicians and then keep them there. So I won't read off the slide. The team's done a great job of listing some of those things. Joyce and I share CBC articles all the time about what different communities are doing. Financial incentives are very common, offering rent-free housing, paid vacation, creative things like giving people free skis and snowshoes. It runs the gamut. So people are really doing the most that they can to attract this limited resource. Can you move on to the next slide? We've been very fortunate to have the creation of this SLRPC Recruitment and Retention Committee. It's a resurrection of an older committee that kind of fell apart during COVID, but in 2022 the group came together again. Councillor Timpson has been your representative on this group, and as David has said, it's been a huge team effort to come together and to put this together and to brainstorm around ways that we can recruit new physicians and then retain the physicians we have. So a huge amount of credit goes to the team as a whole. One of the things I did want to point out, just when I was thinking about this proposal and coming to speak to you specifically, is physicians are a really great community members. I was thinking of all the things our local physicians do, whether it's volunteering at the Cedar Bay Trails, supporting the entertainment series, volunteering with the PTA and stuff. So physicians have a lot to contribute, and I think this town has a lot to contribute. So it's really trying to find the match of the people that would be interested in investing here, and trying to meet the need and really stand apart, because I think Sioux Lookout does have a lot to offer. Can you move down to the next slide? So this is kind of the heart of our proposal and our coming here. The committee has put together a kind of 3-part approach. So we wanted to be transparent about that. So there's the proposal that's coming to you as the municipality, and then there's a proposal that's going to go to SLRPC specifically, and then also to NOSM through the Sioux Lookout local education group. So for the proposal for you and for your consideration, we're looking at targeting a very sometimes overlooked but very important recruitment potential, which is residents. So that's how I came to Sioux Lookout. I came here as a resident. pretty much all the physicians at the Hugh Ellen Clinic right now came here as residents. And certainly that's true of the Northern practice as well. So it's a huge recruitment potential. These are people who are very early on trying to figure out where they're a good fit. And so when they come here, they see the mentorship, they fall in love with the community. This is a group that has a huge amount of potential to really get them to make that commitment before they wander away again. And a group for whom the financial incentive would make a big difference. People who are still trying to pay off their debt, etc. So what we're asking for is up to $50,000 a year, $10,000 to go to the retention and recruitment committee to use for different activities and for kind of more generalized operations, I guess. And then the first part on the slide for residents. For those who are willing to sign a return of commitment for 2 years, they could be eligible for up to $20,000 per year. So $40,000 in potential because it's a 2-year residency. So that's what we're bringing forward for your consideration. I'm going to finish the presentation, then open up to questions. I'm sure you might have questions for that. But can you move on to the next slide, please? Oh, and then the other piece that we did want to request as well is just for people, if there's any interest for volunteering in any of these subcommittees. And there will be ads placed and put forward on the Facebook page, etc. But certainly it really is a community approach that we're going for. We would like to create that relationship and involve as many different partners as we can. So for anybody interested in volunteering, there's the opportunity for that as well. Next slide. Perfect. So yeah, thank you very much for your time today and for your consideration. We're well aware that budgets are tight and there's many competing priorities, but having a healthy community, being able to support healthcare services and recruiting these really highly motivated and people who like to contribute to their community, I think that that's something that is important. And certainly we are looking to have an ongoing relationship with the town and to work together to achieve those ends. So thank you very much for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, comments, questions? I will start with Councillor Costco and then Councillor Timpson.
Now, how does the financial incentive work? Like you're saying, it's for medical residents who commit to signing full-time contracts. So once they sign a contract obligating themselves to stay for an additional 2 years, they will receive $40,000?
It depends if they sign in their first or second year. So if they sign in their second year, it'll be $20,000, but $40,000 potentially if they sign in their first year.
So then if we're only giving you $50,000, so that would only be one resident then?
It's going to depend a little bit on demand, because potentially you could have, we have 2 full-time residents in Sioux Lookout at any given time, and then a number of residents who rotate through. To some extent, it'll be interesting to see what the interest will look like. I know Linda McNaughton, when I was asking her some of these questions on specific, she says we might have to have some flexibility and kind of see where the interest lies, because if we have 3 people interested, we're going to have to figure that out. But yeah, it's going to depend a little bit on what the interest is.
And normally historically, have you had 2 residents per year sign?
What
2 additional years?
It depends. I mean, we've had some years where both of them come back. I could list some of the people who work at the Hugh Ellen Clinic who came here as residents. And so some years we've had 2 or 3 residents come back. Some years we've had none. It just depends on the person, right? It's unfortunately a little bit variable that way.
Councillor Timpson.
As for the population of Sioux Lookout itself, how many physicians do we need at Hugh Ellen?
So it's 6,000 people
Of 5,500.
You know,
Sorry, do you know the
six
answer?
is, you're closer at 6, yeah?
here. Yeah, so I would say that what it used to be was 1 physician for about 1,200 people, but that's changed because of complexity of medicine, the input of electronic way of reporting, and so much kind of what I call indirect care. So it's definitely decreased to maybe much more like 1 in 1,000. But also to remember that complexity here in terms of family medicine is completely different to, I would say, anywhere else in Ontario. Northwest Ontario, many of the patients who live here, plus in the north, have complex, multiple issues related to health, and it's not a quick in and out visit that often happens down in urban areas. So it's complicated work, and I will say to your question, I think when people come here as residents, they are so amazed by what you can do as a family medicine physician here, as opposed to in a city, in an urban area where you often writing consults to the dermatologist or the cardiologist. And I can tell you that recently I've had several physicians, probably 10 years younger than I am, but who've completed their families, they've got a good family relationship with their partner, and are willing to explore the possibility and giving back to society in a way that's appropriate and want to come. I've had several people interested now coming back here as well to come and do this work in Sioux, a combination maybe of also going north, but lots of people are beginning to be interested.
Just to go back to the Hugh Allen Clinic, I've been trying to get an answer from Linda, but I don't think she's understanding the question. One of the challenges is we do so much different work, right? Like David touched on that. So for our family doctors who work at the Hugh Allen Clinic, we also do emerge. We also do hospitalists, both for long-term care and acute care. We do the obstetrical services. We do anesthesia. A couple of us have administrative positions, such as myself. And so the number of doctors we need, it's called a full-time equivalent. You can have a certain number of doctors, but they're not actually doing full-time family medicine, right? And so that complicates the numbers a bit. We can get that information to you. Linda's not understanding what I'm asking her. I think we have 12 physicians signed at the moment, but if you actually add up all the work that we do, and then we have people who are semi-retired as well, it's not enough to meet the need. I think we have like 4,000 orphan patients. So like all of us together, like it's unfortunately quite dire. I know in my personal practice, I've been told my wait times can go up to 4 months, which is not acceptable by any measure that any health organization uses, right? So it is a pretty dire situation. The locum influx that we've had has helped. But in terms of people signing full-time contracts and moving to Sioux, that we haven't seen a huge budge yet. We're hoping that this will start to reflect in that, but I think in the last 2 years we've maybe had 1 or 2 people. It's not been a lot, unfortunately.
And I think some of the physicians also go north, do northern service as well, do they not?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So some of our
Yeah.
Hugh Allen Clinic docs also go north.
So it's almost 1 per 500. For this setting, we'd be looking at 1 for half of.
Well, just on that point, Councillor Timpson, just looking at, you said nine FTEs at the Hugh Allen Clinic for a population of 5,700, and you're saying 1 per 1,000. It looks like we're overstaffed with family physicians, but really the population being served is 30,000.
Yeah, much
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, everybody, these people who take vacation, if people have gone north, they're away from Sioux. So what's going to happen with the staffing of the ER, the hospital? Yep, so it, just to label the point, this is a very, we are in difficult times right now in terms of healthcare here.
Just let me just ask, and councillors, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. I already had there was a rough poll just from the discussion before that I know three of the 7 members of council don't have a family physician. If you don't have a family physician and you feel, put up your hand. I don't have a family physician. Okay, and Councillor Van Breda does. So 3 out of 7 here don't have a family physician. I used to have 1 retired, the next one retired, and I thought I'll go younger. The younger one moved out of town.
And we have an unfortunate few doctors who might be retiring in the next few years. So it's not going to get better from our local docs.
All right.
Another-
Councillor Timpson.
Another question to you, Laurel. As someone who's come and stayed for 6 years, you know what we have to offer. What would you recommend that the town work on to offer so that people like yourself do stay 6 years? And I think of the past folks we had that have retired in the last 5 years or so. They came at the beginning of their career and they stayed 30 years. What do we need to do as a council in other ways to make our community such that they will stay for 30 years?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a number of things that come back regularly in the feedback. Housing really is hard to find. I've had doctors live with me for a month or two while they're trying to find something to get on their feet. But if you have a large family or you're, if you have specific needs, that may or may not work. So housing is definitely a big need. Childcare, that could be occupy the 3 top lists. Like that keeps coming back again and again, is people can't work because they can't find childcare. I think the town, even when I look back 6 years from when I moved here, there was a lot more restaurants and a lot more that's going on. And I know COVID has hit everywhere really hard, and I think it's hit our community as well. I think we're no exception to that. But I think seeing some of those things kind of start to revive again. I know the entertainment series is very well attended by physicians. People love that. And people want to know that they can be part of a community, right? So like I joined the curling team in my second year, and that was a great way to get to know people and feel like you're part of something. So I think it's that feeling of like you can become part of this community and not just come here for the work, right? And that's a hard message to sell, but the more we do at offering things, I think that gets out.
Yeah, we've discussed this with, in relation to the library, having a swimming pool. And I think you said a climbing wall would be a great idea, little things like this that we can do. So, yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you.
So this is a request for the municipality to, and this will be considered at a report coming soon and part of the budget process, but sometimes people don't know that the municipality is already quite engaged financially in the healthcare system. If our tax-generated budget is $12 million a year in rough numbers, our levy to the District Services Board includes, this year it'll be between $500,000 and $600,000 for land ambulance that we pay. And there's pressure on that number, largely because of our role in the north, but there's pressure on that number as well that will go up. Our levy from the Kenora District Homes for the Aged for long-term care is $500,000 a year. We're paying through the Hugh Allen Clinic. We provide the municipality built the clinic 25 years ago or so in order to help retain family doctors here, and we own it and lease it back to the physicians at a reduced rent. So we pay we subsidize the lease already on that, probably to the tune of $50,000, $60,000 a year. Through policing, we're paying for missing services in mental health and addictions to the tune of millions of dollars a year. The municipality is into healthcare in a big way financially. It's becoming, and quite frankly, the province is trying to shift more of that to us through we pay public health is $250,000 a year. And those numbers are all in flux right now because of changes at the provincial level. So this is tough for us. It really is. But we do appreciate your presentation and everything you've said. It's not that we don't want to support it. We'll see where it goes with all the pressures on the budget. But great presentation, great information, and we look forward to supporting physician recruitment in any way we can going forward. And I know Councillor Timpson's involved. Other councillors have gone in and done during the orientation of physicians, done a half-hour presentation. We give the physicians free membership to the recreation center while they're here on locum, other such things. They're small things. And I would go back to the housing. We are doing all that we can. We don't build houses. Through KDSB, we are involved in funding them, but that's more, let's say, social housing. But we're opening up and investing money in the Hillcrest subdivision, which we hope might include some multi-residential apartments, and in the Bigwood subdivision, which is going to have residential areas across from the airport. Millions of dollars that we're investing there to promote housing. And we have people that are interested in developing The housing shortage in Sioux Lookout isn't because of inaction of council, it's how much can we do, what is our role is part of it. Providing service land is part of it. Daycare, we went through quite a process of divesting ourselves of direct daycare delivery because we knew that the Kenora District Services Board could do a better job and it would be less costly to the municipality. And they've done that, and already daycare spaces have begun to grow in Sioux Lookout, and we hope that'll be more so in the coming years. So just on those two, we're not sitting on our thumbs. We are trying.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Town. We definitely appreciate those efforts. Certainly at the hospital and the Hugh Allen Clinic, it has not gone unnoticed. You've been very strong supporters and very strong partners. So thank you for that, and thank you for hearing us.
Thank you once again. We're really glad to be here to be able to present what is becoming a huge issue now in this town of Sioux Lookout. So thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate it, and we do take the issue personally. Thank you very much. Item 8.3, Council. Expanding access to veterinary care in Northern Ontario, and this is a virtual presentation as well. Very good. So we have presenters are Dr. Gregory Springett, DVM, and Mrs. Lindsay Springett, Practice Manager, Dryden Veterinary Services. And I'll turn the mic over to you. I should look. Where's the camera tonight? Right here. I'll turn the mic over to you. I can see your button, your microphone button. You're on mute, Melissa. Try the space bar. There you go.
Good. Yeah. So it's actually Lindsay. Sorry, I'm signed in as Melissa. I don't know how to. But so Dr. Springer apologizes. He's not able to attend tonight, so I'm just going to be attending on his behalf to go over the presentation here with you guys. So thank you very much for your time this evening, just to hear kind of what we have to say. So we just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about the evolution of Dryden Vet Services, in general, kind of the global veterinary shortage and some of the anticipated changes and proposals that we have. But I don't think my presentation's on the screen yet, is it?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. It doesn't want to pop up for some reason. It's odd.
Sorry, I'm speaking to you from behind the camera. My apologies. We can probably bring it up and just sort of have you off to the side to present. And if you just want to let us know when to click through the slides, if you can just bear with us for 1 sec here, we'll bring it up on our
Sure.
end. Awesome.
Thank you.
No problem.
That'd be great.
Jackie, can you just see what I've got seen there? Oh, sorry. There we go. There we go. Oops. Okay. Still not working that out.
Is it up on the screen now? Sorry, I'm having a hard time
Sorry.
seeing from my.
Yeah, we're getting there. Sorry. If you just bear with us.
Yeah, no, you just let me know.
Yeah. Go. There we go. Okay, you're good to go.
Thank you so much. Okay, So essentially why we're here today is just to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and where we would like to go with the support of the municipality of Sioux and Council. I had mentioned earlier, we just want to talk a little bit about the evolution of dry vet services, some of the impacts of the global veterinary shortage, and also of the regulatory changes that are going to be coming up, and a solution that we've been chatting about that might help to address some of those. So Dryden Veterinary Services currently employs 11 full-time staff. We have 2 full-time vets, 1 part-time vet, 4 registered veterinary technicians, plus our office staff and our kennel attendants. So Dryden Veterinary Services is actually the only vet clinic in Dryden that exclusively employs registered vet techs. Other places do have technicians, but they aren't registered. Some of them are registered, but ours are exclusively registered. I can just go to the next slide with the history if you don't mind. Okay, awesome. So some of the history of Dryden Vet Services mobile trailer trips. I'm not too sure who all remembers those. Every once in a while we would come up, usually 2 to 3 times in the summer, into Sioux to better service our clients there and provide better access to health care for our clients and their pets over the years. So unfortunately, it's been a little while since we've been able to do so, but it actually started out into an old converted school bus that had a wood stove for heating way back in the 70s with Dr. Miller, who originally started the practice of Dryden Veterinary Services. Over the years, it evolved with Clayton Schneider starting up the big bus that was actually made for veterinary trips. And we would go around to Sioux Lookout, Red Lake. I believe we'd even stop in Ear Falls and Ignace back at one point. And then now today we actually own a fully equipped mobile unit that has kennels, and it has a surgery table, and actually has all of the equipment necessary to provide the proper care. Unfortunately, with the growing demands in our clinic, we haven't really been able to go and branch out to any of our other communities as we have in the past. Sorry, if you want to just switch the slide to the Dryden Vet Services timeline. I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit.
There you go, we're there.
Awesome, thank you so much. So the practice originally started out with Dr. Miller back in 1975, and it evolved as Clayton Schneider came to the scene. And actually, Dr. Egley worked with Dryden Veterinary Services for a very short time as well before he started his own practice. So Dr. Miller and Dr. Schneider would do bus trips together, which then evolved into Greg Springett coming in 2012, and then buying the practice in 2014 from Clayton. We actually have been operating still in the original clinic from Dr. Miller, which is just like an old converted house. So we've definitely been pretty cramped in here, and we've been working on branching out and stretching our wings a little bit, and creating a little bit more space. If you want to just switch to the next slide there. And we've been in the process of constructing a new vet clinic right now, which we're very excited about here in Dryden, which should be available to move into in April of next year, so in the spring is the proposed move-in date. So that actually helps to free up a little bit of space in our mobile unit. In saying that, unfortunately, there's been a lot of demand on everybody in the clinic through the pandemic. People have really grown their pet families by quite a bit. So the bus trips were also very long days for us, and unfortunately, having to do that, we were having to send half of our staff to Sioux Lookout, Red Lake, etc., which would put a large strain on the clinic here at the time. So we haven't really been able to do some of those those bus trips as we had hoped to be able to help others that aren't so close to Dryden. If you wouldn't mind just switching the slide. Okay, so we talked about there's been a global veterinary shortage crisis, which has kind of brought to light new ideas on how we can best support our clients and all of their fur babies as well. If you wouldn't mind switching the slide again. So the growing shortage is due to a couple of different things. Graduates just can't get through the system fast enough. And unfortunately, there's lots of retirements and there just isn't the vets available to replace that right now. Through COVID, there's been a 250% increase in pet ownership. So that's put quite a strain on the current vet situation. Making it a little bit harder to operate for sure. So there's just more pets in the system now. And then just like everybody in the north, there's recruitment challenges that we face as well. Being a smaller animal practice, our vets are unfortunately on call 24/7. So we don't have a larger emergency center to refer to. So that makes it a little bit more challenging as well to attract some of the new grads to the north. Could you switch the slide, please? Yes. Thank you. Okay, so there's about 66,000 people in the Kenora district currently, with about 12,500-ish are vet-seeking households. There currently is only 10 vets available, with an optimal number of vets from 15 to 27. So you can see there's quite a gap there. So in Dryden here, we not only service Dryden, Sioux Lookout, Red Lake District, but there is a huge shortage in Thunder Bay right now, which we've been trying our best to help fill the gaps there as well. None of the clinics there have been taking on any new clients for probably the last 3 years. For a little while, we weren't able to do so ourselves, but we have been able to free up the capacity to just help out with some of the basics, or anyone that is just very critical, that's desperate and needs help. So in saying that, that doesn't allow us the availability to be able to leave our clinic and leave half our staff to be able to travel to some of our rural communities to help out. Change the slide, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've talked a lot about, kind of what's been going on in our clinic here, and how we're at max capacity, and we've been expanding and moving onto a new site to be able to make room for everybody. But in saying that, we also want to note that we really would like to continue supporting some of our clients in more remote communities that we just haven't been able to get to since COVID, with all of those constraints that we've been up against. So we were actually approached by the EDO about the use of our mobile clinic to help facilitate something in Sioux Lookout, coming up with some of the changes. So, sorry. Yeah, so just to find a viable solution that can help branch out and help provide some of that continual support to our remote communities, with us currently not really being able to travel or to spare a vet from our drive-in clinic. Just on to the next slide there. Okay, thank you. So there has been some responses with some regulatory changes to the vet shortage. The profession, I don't know if anyone's heard, they've created an affiliation with Lakehead University. So essentially the first 2 years of those that are going to vet school in Guelph will attend at Lakehead and Thunder Bay. And then they'll spend their last 2 years back at the University of Guelph to finish up their schooling. This doesn't necessarily translate to those staying in rural communities, but
hopefully it will help to address some of the shortage in the north. And another thing as well is the CBO is looking at providing a little bit more wiggle room to RVTs to be able to allow them to do more things with that don't require direct supervision from a veterinarian. So that will just help kind of take some of that pressure off of the vets as well. So very similar to an RN working under a doctor's direction. For the next slide. So in saying that, with all of these constraints, we're proposing a rural vet nursing station to be operated by some of the RVTs in our clinic here. So the CBO is doing a proposal right now that may allow us to do a test run. We've submitted the paperwork for review, which I believe we'll have some insight from them in December as to kind of what an RVT is able to do, like under the indirect supervision from a veterinarian remotely. So kind of what we were looking at too is like with an RVT, it's 2 to 3 years training, whereas with a veterinarian, it's 8 years of schooling. So this is going to help free up some help a lot faster than waiting for the full 8 years through school. To change the slide there. Thank you. So the RVT essentially will hopefully be able to administer vaccinations, refill prescriptions, provide humane euthanasias, so that people from Sioux aren't having to travel all the way to Dryden with maybe a very sick animal that are already going through a fair amount of distress, just to help kind of take and alleviate some of that stress and pressure. And it just allows access as well. Not all seniors are able to drive in. Some of the road conditions aren't great all of the time. So we're just really hoping to be able to service and free up some of our staff to better support the rural community around us, being Sioux at this point. I think I already covered the next slide, actually. We can change it. Okay, yeah, so and also a little bit of a next step as well. We've been working a little bit about potentially hosting a spay or neuter clinic in 2024 at the Sioux Airport as well, just to provide some of that access to the far north communities once we have the remote or the mobile unit stationed in Sioux, if that's a possibility. We can change the slide. All right, so essentially what we're looking for from the municipality of Sioux is just a letter of support to the CBO to show that, you know, kind of you guys are behind us in this initiative. Also, we're looking for a place to put the trailer itself. We're thinking it's a lot to pull it back and forth, and not all of our staff have the proper vehicle to be able to do that. So we're looking for a little bit more of a permanent home for it while we try this pilot project to see how it will be received by everybody. And then also we were kind of looking for some support from the EDO to collect data from the residents about the satisfaction of having the trailer there, and just kind of how everything is going with all of it and how we're meeting their needs. So some of the staff has suggested the shelter at the ball diamonds in the off season, so just during the winter, keeping it out of the snow and some of the elements, and then during the summer that we would station it at the dog pound, which we agreed and thought that might work really well for us. So we're just kind of waiting at this point for the CBO to give their final decision in December. before we really go ahead and move forward with the project. At this point, we could move forward with it, but it really would just be selling food and bringing medication that was previously dispensed in Dryden to Sioux. So we really wouldn't be able to do a whole lot at this point until we receive full direction from the CBO. We were hoping to start it up at looking at 1 to 2 days a week, just to kind of begin with. We've also applied with NOHFC for some funding to be able to hire a vet tech that will work part-time out of the Sioux remote trailer, and that would work in Dryden the rest of the time, with the intentions of eventually moving to 5 days a week in Sioux if the pilot project goes well. So we're not really asking for a ton of financial commitment, I guess. We're just asking for more support and potentially a spot where we can park the unit to be able to give Sioux a better chance at access for their animals and their animals' care as well.
So
Does anyone have any questions?
Sure, thank you, Lindsay. I'll go to council for comments or questions. Councillor Costco.
Now, do you see this as a lucrative business opportunity? Like, I know a lot of people in Silico do have pets and travel back and forth and do buy stuff from you. And if you're staffing it with veterinary technicians, would that be billed at a lower rate to the citizens of Sioux Lookout, or would it be billed at the same rate that you're billing your veterinarian rate?
Sorry, did you say a lower rate? Or
yes, since it's a technician instead of a veterinarian.
No, it wouldn't be billed at a lower rate because they're still being overseen by the veterinarian themselves. So it would still be, I mean, it depends on what it is, right? Like if it's, to be honest, we haven't gotten quite that far. So the vaccinations themselves will be what they will be. But I don't foresee it being at a lower rate. No, I don't.
Okay. So do you see, when you're set up here and coming 5 days a week, and basically it's a business, you're running a business, a veterinarian business and selling things, do you anticipate that you would be paying rent and hydro for the space, or are you expecting the space free long term?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah. So if we got to the point where we were coming 5 days a week, like you're thinking of just on the space that the trailer will be parked at?
Yeah. And even like you obviously would have to have access to hydro. So would you be paying for your hydro?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was the intention for sure, is that there would be a shared fee between, wherever our trailer ended up. Absolutely. Yeah, that we would definitely pay a portion of the hydro and water as well. We didn't think that it would be free. It was more just trying to find a space that would work.
Okay.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I just wasn't clear. Are you basically saying that if there will be no veterinarians coming in person any longer to Sioux Lookout, and this is the alternative that you're proposing? Is that basically what you're saying? So, yeah, okay. I wasn't.
Yeah, that, for sure. I mean, to be honest, unless we're able to onboard a third vet in our Dryden clinic, we just unfortunately don't have the capacity to send, because we have 2 vets here right now. We don't have the capacity to be able to pull here while we're supporting all of our other surrounding areas. So this was kind of our, I guess this was our compromise to see how we could still support, like Sioux Lookout and come to you, because currently in our current state, it's just unfortunately not possible.
But people will still have access to the vets if they go down to Dryden, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they'll definitely still have access. It's more just to mitigate the travel from Sioux Lookout to Dryden,
right,
if at all possible. And even if that's not on a full-time basis, to start with at least maybe part-time 1 to 2 days a week to be able to just help a little bit with that.
Do you know when this might realistically start? We have to look at training first, don't we?
Yeah, So we have to wait. We have to wait for direction from the CBO first and
Okay.
foremost. And also, it likely, if it's a go ahead and the CVO is comfortable and confident with us mitigating the risk as much as we can, would likely be in the spring. Starting something up in the winter would be quite challenging, I think, just with the road conditions and just it being a new project. So ideally, we're thinking likely in the spring. But I mean, if we can start it sooner, then we certainly will look at that.
Thank you.
Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah. Do you see this as early steps to possibly establishing something more permanent in Sioux Lookout, if it's successful?
I would definitely never say never, right? Like I think we're going to start small. We're going to start at a pilot project. As you can imagine, how expensive a vet clinic would be to set up. So we just need to make sure that this is going to work. Just like everybody else, everybody is up against staffing constraints and you can't really run something if you don't have the proper staff to do that. So we just like to start small and kind of see where it goes. But absolutely, if it does really well and there's an overwhelming response and our staff are able to run it and things are going well with the remote appointments, and 100%, I don't see why we wouldn't look at something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Lego.
Yeah, just in regards to insurance for the vehicle in case anything happens to it while it's sitting there, is that has to be covered by the municipality since it's on municipality property, or is that done by the veterinarian?
It's insured. It's currently insured right now, depending on if we're moving it or not. It has different types of insurance, but no, it is insured by Dryden Veterinary Services.
Anything further, Council? So thank you very much for your presentation, Lindsay. There is an item on the agenda coming up in which we will consider a motion to support provide a letter of support and to support your request related to parking the trailer. So that'll be that's on the agenda later tonight.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks.
All right. So our next, we've done with delegations now.
Yes, 3-minute rules, yes, we are.
Next item is considering items requiring separate discussion, and perhaps we'll just take a 3-minute break before we do that. We've been here for an hour and a half or so. So as Councillor Van Breda comes back, we'll all leave for a break. and we'll get into staff reports. Item 7.1, expanding access to veterinary care in Northern Ontario. The motion is that Councillor Van Breda, you had declared a conflict on this. The motion is the council provides a letter of support to the College of Veterinarians in support of the regulatory sandbox proposal submitted by Dryden Veterinary Services, DVS, to pilot a registered veterinary technician-operated veterinary clinic in Sioux, and further, that council provides space to Dryden Veterinary Services to park their mobile veterinary clinic at the municipal dog pound site on Queen Street during the summer and under their shelter at the baseball diamonds between September to April for a one-year pilot project. Need a mover? Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion starting, well, I lifted it, so I won't start, but Councillor Costco, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that, like, this is a lucrative business opportunity for them. So I just want to make sure that after the one-year pilot project, that there is some remuneration coming back to the municipality, that we're recouping our hydro and even a rental space. That, you know, other businesses in Sioux pay taxes and other costs, that I believe that this, you know, once they're established and they've proven that it's a working, viable business, that there needs to be some remuneration coming back to the municipality.
Okay, we'll come back. Further comments, Council? Councillor Lego.
First question would be, have we measured the trailer and does it fit underneath the shelter?
Can I go to CIO, Economic Development? Go directly to you.
From our estimations, we believe that it will fit. So from the measurements provided from them and facilities, and I went out to do a site inspection, and we believe it will fit. Yes.
Anything further, Councillor Lego? No. Council, anything further? So, go to Councillor Cassidy and then Councillor Timpson.
So they were currently, or historically, they were coming up and still operating their trailer at the TIC, and there was no remuneration to the town, as I stood with that, right?
Correct. And also TransCanada Veterinary Clinic also comes to use the Tourist Information Center, and they don't pay any rent or compensation for using that space as well. And I just want to clarify one thing as well that I think Lindsay kind of missed. For the next 2 to possibly 3 years, they would have no ability to equip this facility full time. So the NOHFC internships that we applied for would support them to train 2 new technicians, with the intention that one of them, once trained, which would take 2 to 3 years, could then take over and operate it full time. So it's not possible for it to be operated on more than a part-time basis until that happens and there's extra capacity.
So this is essentially, what this will do is allow access to the service, or access for residents to that service throughout the winter.
Right, so this would allow the trial of the access, as well as piloting the regulatory changes with the CVO. So at the end of the year pilot, I would need to be reporting back both to council and CVO's council as to, was the public interest protected, and is this a viable solution from a regulatory standpoint, as well as them seeing if it's economically viable on their end.
Thank you.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, it seems like a creative approach to increasing the lack of personnel to service our community. I would support it, and I think that if they do get the proposal, the funds from the where is it from? The college, I guess, and the permission to go ahead, I think we could sort out those details. The municipal dog park site on Queen Street, isn't that King Street? It's across from the...
No, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
It is King Street.
Okay. Yeah. I thought. Anyway, yeah, no, I support this. I think we should go ahead with, I think it's an innovative response to a need. It keeps people here in Sioux Lookout. They won't be traveling to Dryden spending the money in Dryden as much?
So, a question, the actual one-year pilot project would start in the spring of 2024?
Potentially.
Or
Initially,
it wouldn't start this winter, it's really,
Yeah.
in the future.
that was the first that I heard, that she was thinking the spring, to be honest. I thought that we were thinking more of moving it up in the fall, because there are some services that they could offer now. And CVO's council, their executive committee is looking at this October 25th, and then they'll be making a final decision in December. But that's really just about those regulatory changes. So for sure, euthanasia couldn't happen if they don't approve that, because it's a controlled substance, and that's more the issue. It's not that the technician can't perform the act, it's that we can't have the controlled substance stored without a veterinarian on site. So there's just those couple of things that wouldn't be allowed until we have that full approval. So I was hoping they were going to move the trailer up in the fall before the snow hits, so that we're ready to go, because I anticipate that there will be an approval, and there are things they can do in the meantime.
Is that, from Lindsay's presentation, I didn't take that.
It sounds like maybe they're thinking the spring, right? That's the first I knew that.
So when it moves up, that's when the one-year pilot project would kick in, I would take it, yeah. And then to Councillor Costco's point, it's a pilot project, it's 1 year, and if there was to be an extension beyond that, it would have to be negotiated toward the end of that. So, I mean, I think we can sort of address that when it comes back. Is that right, CIO? No.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yes, and you know, there's no guarantee that they would continue to use municipal sites. They may, you know, purchase private property or rent from a private property owner or something like that. That would remain to be seen for sure.
So what we would be committing to is a 1-year pilot project, and with no, we're not charging them financially, other than they will pay any hydro and water or whatever, but that's it. Councillor Lego.
Yeah, that was just my concern of having that heated all winter. And are they just running out an extension cord? Like, I don't know what's up there for plug-in.
Motorhomes to use.
Yeah, and then water, having water access.
They've made the request. I guess those details are up to them. We're giving them a parking spot, not guaranteeing that there's enough power or sewer or water or whatever. That's a different, the request is a parking site for the trailer. If the hydro is inadequate at the site, then that's a different ask. Fair enough.
And how would we know how much hydro they're using? Like, would we have a flat rate?
I'm assuming that there's,
There's a
so
formula or
CIO, is
something?
there a meter, is it metered up there? Or we can arrange for a meter? Yeah. I think it's a great idea to help out Sioux and people, instead of having to drive to Dryden. I'm a pet owner. How many? Well, there's 1,100 pet owners seeking veterinary services. There might be more pet owners who don't seek veterinary services, I suppose. So, all right. So, is there any further comment before I call the vote on the motion on the table, which will be an amendment to read King Street, not Queen Street? I think Councillor Timpson is quite correct that it's King Street. Yeah. Anything further, Council? So, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.2, update to downtown revitalization study. The council authorizes and directs staff to engage HTFC Planning and Design to update the downtown revitalization plan that they finalized in 2010 as part of the Sioux and Hudson revitalization study. Mover to put it on the table. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion starting with Councillor, sorry, I put down JC. Could be
That's me.
Joe Cassidy or Joe Costco.
Yeah.
Councillor Costco.
Okay, I have some concerns about doing this study right now, because there's so much happening on Front Street right now. Like, there's Mayfair revitalization, there's the Red Apple repair, the Fifth Avenue bar is reopening, we're redoing the street and the infrastructure, there's the washroom project, Fresh Market is going into IGA for food distribution, we're building a funeral home, Sioux Lookout First Nation Health Authority just bought Rexall and has some plans. There's 2 restaurants for sale. So I just don't understand why we would go in and do a plan now. Why don't we sit back and see what happens with all these things, because we have no idea what the needs are going to be when all these things come to fruition. I think that, you know, like the whole dynamic might change downtown. You have no idea. I think the timing of this is not very good. I think that we have on our plate so many projects right now. We have, you know, the Hillcrest subdivision, the Bigwood subdivision, Cedar Bay, we're doing the plans for that. We're doing the washroom project. We're doing the Hudson Senior Center. We're doing the lift station. And there's multiple small projects going on. And I just think that for us to add one more project to this plan, and I know that you say it's only a study, it's only $10,000 plus travel, which will probably play out to be $20,000. But then that study rolls over into, we did this study, now we need a plan. Now we need this, now we need that, and next thing you know, we're spending $5 million. And I just think that we need a break. We have so many projects on the go right now, and if we don't get our Hillcrest subdivision and our Big Wood subdivision up and running successfully, we're gonna have some serious issues. And I just think that to add one more thing to the pile is for our staff, for the resources that we have, it's just too much. It's too much. I think we really need to take a break, and we really need to say, you know, we need to have some successful program. And the other thing that this is also is this is lining up future councils for this project. And is it fair for us to decide 2 councils from now that this is what they're doing? So I think we need to sit back, and this is not the time for this project.
Council? Councillor Timpson, and then Councillor Lego.
You know, I hear what you're saying. I guess I would see it the other way, in that given that there is so much going on, that's why we should do it, because what is going on now is not what we anticipated back in 2010. Everything has changed in those 13 years. And the downtown now is not it's not revitalizable. It's all offices. So I think we need to look at that. Where do we revitalize then, given that all this stuff that's happening? That's my view on it, that this is the time to do it, because there is so much happening. So, and I do support this.
Councillor Lego.
I'm with Councillor Costco on this. I vote no on this, so I would rather us see getting something on fixing what we already have. Our roads need to be looked at. There's multiple other things, infrastructure that's from the 20s and 30s that needs to be done, so I would be voting no on this tonight.
Councillor Van Breda.
I'm in agreement with Councillor Costco and Councillor Lego. I'm not against it. I'm just not right now. Just I think we need to exhale on a couple of things. But my main question is just like, so I was going through this over the weekend. I know this is from 2010, but 4.1 on page 19 talks about like what Front Street was going to look like. And I guess my question was kind of just, why wasn't this kind of done back in 2010? Like, because like the designs, you know, going on 4.1, you know, going on kind of like what was wanted back in 2010. And I know they were asking for $4 million for this project to go ahead, but my question was just like, what happened back in 2010 where this didn't go ahead? I know that was like a long time ago. In 2010,
So Councillor Van Breda, I would suggest that the report proposed many things after a lot of consultation with the community. Many of the things have been done. The corner at Wellington by Al Sports, the Wellington Avenue, it was called Confusion Corner at one time because people thought it wouldn't work. It works wonderfully. That was part of the study. The Wellington intersection at Tim Hortons, that was part of the study. That was one of the components. The roundabout that we've just done was one of the components of the study. So everything wasn't done at once because it would have cost $70 million in one tax year. So it's being staged out. I would also say that when we're talking about what's recommended in the study for Front Street may change right now, and that's the whole point. I don't think that 13 years later, personally, that what was recommended or thought of as a concept then is appropriate. Under Front Street are 50, 60-year-old pipes. the street obviously needs upgrade and repair. I think it would be wonderful to spend this money now so that we're prepared when we need to repave, do the sidewalks, just the facelift of that street. I thank those councils very much back in the 2006 to 2010, 2010 for doing this study and having all these concepts ready for us at the time. We're tweaking it now over time. This isn't a physical project, and I would hope the staff wouldn't have brought it forward if they didn't have the time to do this. This is, I think, a necessary, something that we need to do now. That's, Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, and you're asking the same company to do it that did it back in 2010, and that's why I think it's really appropriate to do it. I agree with the mayor that we need to have this at our fingertips when we jump into a proposal, when money for money that becomes available. If we're not ready with the reports, we're nowhere.
Yeah, and I think what was proposed in the study, there was a fair bit of one-way traffic and whatever. I think we need to revisit that in light of the developments that have taken place, not only on Front Street, but in other downtowns. Where is the downtown right now is a question too. Is the downtown shifted to Wellington and Tim Hortons? Is the downtown shifting? Where is it? Or is it just a bit larger than it used to be? Front Street needs attention.
Yeah. Like, again, not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying this, you know, maybe in a year from now, hopefully we'll be in a much better position to take this on, to kind of look in the future in a better lens. But as of right here, right now, no.
I'll just ask the CAO, does the staff have the time to undertake I undertake this at this time?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the primary driver for why this is coming forward now is because Council's newly approved CIP references this plan to give guidance to people who are applying for CIP. So we're asking people to refer to a 13-year-old plan for guidance that Council's not even sure if it likes what's in that plan now. So there could be implications, you know, if council doesn't want to move forward with this at this time, then staff will also likely recommend then that you don't implement the CIP until this project is done. So if we want to kick this down the road for a year or two, then staff would also then be recommending that CIP be kicked down the road for a year or two, because the two documents support each other. So there's that consideration. That's the primary reason why staff is recommending it now, so that when we have applications coming into CIP, they're not based on a plan that's 13 years old, where we're specifically telling people to refer to. So that was the primary driver. The bulk of the work would be done by the consultant. Obviously, there's always staff time, and that's always a challenge and consideration. But staff also is flexible and is trying to identify what council's priorities are, and CIP has been identified as one of those, so that's why this came forward at this time. I hope that helps.
And the infrastructure under Front Street is among the oldest in town. We should have a plan in place of how we want it to look when the emergency happens and things collapse and the water and sewer stops running. We'd be better off if we know what we'd like it to look like ahead of time for a small cost, rather than at that time throwing our hands up and spending money that doesn't move towards our ultimate goals. I think it's a small amount of money, a small, forgive me staff, a small amount of staff time that's being requested for something that is good for the municipality. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I also agree. I think the entire dynamic of Sioux Lookout has shifted drastically since this plan was created. You look at the office space, the competition, there's no commercial real estate. We have a housing crisis as well. So how do we, as a council, plan for this type of growth? It's not something that I think a lot of communities have with our challenges, where we are growing by 10% every census year. And the dollar figure on this, compared to some of the other reports I've seen come forward that were probably a lot less impactful, I think, than this is. This is a fifth of the cost. So I support it. I think it's something we need. We need direction. We need to set direction for ourselves and for future councils. So I think that is what this will do, and yeah, I support it.
Councillor Boone.
Yeah, as council, as a counselor, I need a vision, a plan. You know, right now we have we have front and third being worked on. Yes, we had the roundabout in front of the Legion completed X amount of years ago. What is in there for piping and stuff? How much is it gonna cost us? Like, is it, you know, we see the street being dug up all the time. It's great that all these businesses are starting to move back in. You know, is it 10,000 going to be 20,000 next year or more? So at this time, I would like a plan and a vision, not something from 2008.
I think, I want to just be clear, I think it was an excellent report that was done, that was supported by the community and by the councils, and it's proven very worthwhile for the municipality, that plan. I think it's time to update it. So it's not, Sierra wasn't, don't like it, liked it at the time, it was good, but I think 15, 16 years later, it's time to revisit it because of the dynamic has changed. Any further comments, council, before I put this to the vote? Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, we did not anticipate that a health authority with 500 people crowding into our town was going to happen in 2010. We had that was not in the cards at all, and I agree. It's a modest amount to, I think, will get us a long way, and given that it's to be done by consultants, I think there will be staff time, but I don't think it's going to be as copious as we're worried about. So I support it.
Any further comments, council, before we vote? So the motion's on the floor. We have a mover and a seconder. The council authorizes and directs staff to engage HTFC Planning and Design to update the downtown revitalization plan that they finalized in 2010 as part of the Sioux Hudson Revitalization Study. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.3, municipal operating budget to actual to September. The council receives the 2023 municipal operating budget to actual update as outlined in the Treasurer's Report number 2023-121 dated October 18, 2023. The mover to put it on the table, Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Discussion starting with, I think Councillor Lego lifted it, yeah.
First question, how many positions within the municipality have not been filled for 2023, but have been budgeted for, that we budgeted for?
Through your Mayor Lawrence, I don't have that number with me. I honestly couldn't tell you. However, maybe the acting CAO would be able to give a little bit more.
Yes, through you, Mayor Lawrence. So the Public Works Manager position has remained vacant for 2023 to date. That is the Fire Safety and Education Officer position has remained vacant for the entirety of 2023. The Asset Management Coordinator position has remained vacant for 2023 to date. There have been a smattering of other positions that have been vacant for some time throughout the year, some of the frontline positions in some of the departments. Those would be sort of the big three, if I can, in terms of have been vacant for the entire year.
Oh, thank you very much. On page 6 of the, I think it's page 6 for either on the computer or yours, facilities under administration. Even though facilities as a whole is under budget, at the end of the third quarter, we're around 66%. Can you go over the administration total? which is already over 13% over what was budgeted for. And we still have another quarter to go. Is there a reason for? It's, it was at 304, now in the third quarter it's at 343,000.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Lawrence, a lot of that change has to do with wages and benefits in regards to the discussions and passes that council did in closed session. And that's the majority of those changes. In regards to supplies, it was just extra items that they needed in order to support their day-to-day operations that they didn't anticipate for it to arise.
Okay. And that'll be all corrected for 2024 discussion.
Yes.
Okay. And on page 14, community transportation. Again, we're finished up the third quarter and it's already 20% over budget. I know fuel costs and wages, but we still have another quarter to go. I just don't know where that money's coming from because a lot of it's through funding, right? So
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Lawrence, it's just timing of funding. So we are anticipating to receive additional funding. It just needs to be allocated into that section of the budget. And as well as the municipality does delegate every year a certain percentage of taxes to be used towards hub transit, and that would be located on page 33 or on page 215 of your packages under transfer to handy transit of 32. Yeah.
okay. And in regards on page 26 for recycling,
Yes.
we budgeted 65,750. When will we be receiving that funding?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, it's just timing that comes down from the government. A lot of it comes from Stewardship Ontario. And most of the funding we receive either within the last quarter or the first quarter of 2025. And once we get 2024, and then once we receive confirmation of that, then we allocate those funds within the budget of the 2023.
Okay. And I guess that would be for railway taxes as well.
The railway taxes we usually receive within the last quarter.
Okay. All right. Those are all my questions. Thanks.
Councillor Van Breda.
So for the top of page 7, so I know that we just had the food cycler program. We just had them speaking. In their PowerPoint, they said that the net cost was $8,500 plus shipping plus HST. Here we have in the budget for $12,000, but for the cost is $27,500, and I just wonder what was the $15,000 difference of that?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, a lot of it is going to be offset through the funding, which when we originally budgeted for, we had budgeted for the cost of the entire project. But we will receive the funding that will offset it so that our portion will still remain the $12,000.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Van Breda? No. Council, anything further? Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the surpluses. Page 17, 35,000 for sidewalk repairs. Page 26, 11,000 Cedar Bay. And page 28, 40,000 boat launches. And it would seem to me that, given that we're almost into winter, that these projects are not going to be completed. Can we comment on, will the sidewalks be repaired? What will happen with 11,000 Cedar Bay and 40,000 for boat launches?
CIO.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so some of the work on the boat launches is ongoing as we speak. I know that Deception, I think, is just starting now or is about to start. So there is still some funds to be expended there. Also, this is to September 30th, so There still is likely some outstanding invoices from some of the contractors who've done work that wouldn't have shown up yet for that work. Additionally, but there will, yes, be some surplus in some of those areas. Certainly with respect to sidewalks, there's likely to be some surplus there. That likely the result of insufficient staffing to complete the projects and/or insufficient contractors to contract the work out to have it completed. So that would be the reason that money hasn't been expended. And I think the treasurer has another point.
And through you, Mayor Lawrence, also in regards to wages and benefits for curb and sidewalk repair. So staff that work at Public Works, we estimate the amount of time that they would actually work based on projects for curb and sidewalk repair. So if they didn't work as much as we thought they were going to at the time, then their hours would be allocated somewhere else within Public Works. So when putting the budget together for the Public Works Department, we estimate as to how much time those individuals will work in all these different areas within Public Works.
And 11,000 for Cedar Bay surplus, page 26.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, what we originally had discussed with Cedar Bay Facilities, they did a little bit of work down there. However, some of the work was placed on hold, knowing that council had requested staff to do the Cedar Bay plan, starting possibly next year, and to wait until that plan is completed in order to do additional work down at Cedar Bay.
So I'm just wondering, with surpluses such as this, where it's been, work has been deferred, could that go into some sort of a reserve fund?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, what typically happens is once the audit is completed and if we have a surplus or a deficit, that information is brought back to council with recommendations as to where staff would like the surplus to go to from that year based on whatever sort of projects and items that are occurring within the municipality at that time. So if we were to have a surplus at the end of 2023, then a report would then come back to council and council could give staff direction as to where they would like to see that surplus.
Thank you.
Anything further, council? So just on that last point, based on what you see after the third quarter, do you anticipate a surplus or a deficit or break even, or where do you see it sitting right now?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, as of right now, it's too early to tell.
That's
Council.
the correct answer.
Council did request staff to bring another report back in a closed session in regards to wages and benefits. So that will be occurring sometime in November. And from there, another report then will come back to council as to where we see roughly where we would be at the end of the year.
Very good, thank you. Was there a motion associated? There is a motion, thank you. And we have it on the table. We are receiving the update. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Thank you very much, staff. And I think that concludes is there something? Members of council report, right? Yep, absolutely. Councilor reports. Councilor Costco.
I was on vacation for a large part of the month. However, I still did manage to do a little bit of council work while on vacation. I was able to assist Sioux Mountain to work with the town to do a display for the Truth and Reconciliation Day using materials from the museum. So I was able to facilitate that with Brian's help, which was very appreciative. I also was able to attend the Ladies' Night Out Purse Auction, which was a community event for the hospital, which our mayor participated in a major role, which the community is very grateful for, and you were very good at your job. We appreciate that. I also met with Brian to bring myself back up to speed with what's been happening, and we discussed various different ideas and several things. And I also had a couple meetings with some members of the community. So that was my month.
Thank you. Councillor Bone.
October 3rd, I attended a Committee of Adjustment meeting. There was a consent application and a minor variance application. October 5th, we had a morning Zoom meeting and interviewed some CAO candidates. 5 days after that, we had another meeting for another CAO candidate. As usual, I met with staff. Some just follow up with the Committee of Adjustment, and actually met with Brian, the acting CAO, and we just discussed several topics, but one of them being dock removals from a commercial fisherman that had questions on what the procedure and timelines were. So we got clarification on that. And the last time I forgot to mention that I did attend on a nice bright sunny morning the Lockhart Trail dedication with other members of staff, and I also booted out to Abram Lake Park and for the staff activities that were going on there as well.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I attended the hospital board meeting, AGM, and one of the interesting things that the hospital would like is going to form a subcommittee on political subcommittee and how we can mobilize the political forces in the area to push for the obvious, or long-term care. I attended RUC meeting which is the financial side of the hospital, and had some discussions with the physician recruitment committee concerning the delegation that they plan to do, and attended Sioux Towers had a St. Anne's United Church put on a fish fry for Sioux Towers. And I was asked when I was there as a volunteer, but they asked me to speak on behalf of the town to the people and welcome them. Library meeting, CAO recruitment meeting. I think there were 2 of them, 3 of them, not sure. And I stood in for the mayor and deputy mayor welcoming the high school students to the career fair that was put on by what's the name of it? Slam, yeah. And I did 2 separate sessions of welcoming the physician locums to town, and there were a total of 4 doctors there, and that was really quite good. What we do in those sessions is we try to tell them how wonderful Sioux Lookout is, and please come back. And right, guys? So that was my month.
Thank you. Councillor Van Breda.
Yeah, it was a pretty busy month, pretty good month. So attended all the closed council meetings that were regarding CAO recruitment. Attended the Take Back the Night March, which was on the 21st. Last week I also attended the Sisters in Spirit luncheon that happened at the Friendship Center last week. Also earlier in the month I attended the Sioux Lookout Senior Center meeting and spoke about the urgent need for long-term care beds in Sioux Lookout. And the Senior Center will be hosting a personalized letter campaign to Doug Ford, to everyone to write him letters about how we're ringing the alarm bells of how the long-term care beds situation in the north is critical now. So we'll hear more about that later. Attended the flag raising for the Truth and Reconciliation Day on the 30th with the mayor and a few other, and also Chief Bolton and a few other community members. Attended the march too that happened in the afternoon at 3 p.m. And then I attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting to update about getting new banners in downtown Hudson, which would look nice for the community, and also planting the seeds to hopefully get a new Welcome to Hudson sign soon as well. We do have the Environmental Committee tomorrow, and also I'm excited that the Truth and Reconciliation Committee will be having their first meeting, I believe on the 23rd. I'll be in Toronto for the next 2 weeks, but I'll speak more about that in next meetings, in November's meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Elected to talk about KDMA. I'm sorry. Yeah. If I could, it was the first meeting of KDMA in this term, and I wanted to report that Nestor Falls supported Sioux Lookout's resolution for a taxation exemption for Sioux Lookout to reinstate that. And another, I think it was Ignace, supported us for that. And so as a result, we are going to be taking that up. KDMA will be taking that up, hopefully with the federal representative eventually. So that's one thing that I think is really positive, that we were able, because they turned it down last year when I took it to them, because they felt that there wasn't enough support, not enough communities would be eligible. So I just wanted to mention that. I think that's fairly important to know.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, for myself, I attended the Truth and Reconciliation Walk from the OPP station down to the town beach, and said a few words there. Well-attended event. It was good. At a hydro board, PACE this month was postponed due to no applications to review as well, and I was able to make it out to the fall frolic from Friends of Cedar Bay put on this past weekend, which was great. So it was good.
Thank you. Councillor Lego.
Just the two closed meetings for CEO recruitment and LCC meeting on October the 10th. Basically, Lac-Seul Forest, Caribou Forest are gearing up for winter harvest, and the Lac-Seul Forest is moving into the final phases of their forest management plan for the next 10 years.
Great, thank you. I've attended two Kenora District Services Board meetings in Dryden, and then the virtual meetings. We do the committee meetings virtually, so we've had a finance committee and a governance committee meeting. Health unit, two board meetings, and one was virtual, and we do one, everybody travels to Kenora once a year is what we had decided, so that was our September meeting. And two executive committee meetings, which are virtual. The non-student orientation at the Pelican Falls First Nation High School, where I went out and welcomed the students on behalf of the municipality. Francophone Day, flag raising and proclamation. CAO recruitment activities, along with all of you. Monthly meeting with Eric Melillo, the MP. The National Truth and Reconciliation Day, flag raising and proclamation. Meeting with Acting CAO and Economic Development Officer Jen Esposito. Manny Allen Foundation, the purse auction, which was lots of fun. I haven't seen today's paper. I don't think there's any pictures in the paper of the. No, I tried. I tried to. Yeah, nice scarves. Nice. It was well attended. Great. Good for the foundation and the people who says there's nothing to do in Sioux Lookout. It was great fun, and Councillor Costco was, I think, would attest to that as a member of the audience. Yeah. And it's all for the fundraising for the MRI. Meeting with United Church just about some things that they want to do. Physician recruitment meeting with acting CAO. Lunch with Chief Bull, which we'll try to do every 2 months. I think it turns out into every 4 months or so, just schedules and whatever. Just a nice lunch in town at one of the operating restaurants on Front Street. Attended the Sisters in Vigil event at related to the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls at the Friendship Center. Attended a Bombers game. attended an event just this last Sunday, very emotional event, the unveiling of a memorial for pregnancy and infant loss at the cemetery, the Sacred Heart Cemetery. It was the SWAC, the Sunset Women's Aboriginal Circle, that were the drivers on that, the Friendship Center. Various other meetings and activities, including, check-in meetings with the acting CAO, and I've been referring to this gentleman over here as the CAO tonight. It's just so hard to say ACAO or acting CAO, so it's just acting CAO. Mayor's Desk article, which is in today's paper, entertainment series on Monday, which who says there's nothing to do in Sioux Lookout. Food bank, starting to participate in the food bank as a volunteer to try and get a hands on the ground feel for that. That'll be good. Met today with I will say, a local citizen activist. Would that be the right, regarding long-term care and just how that might advance. And I bumped into another citizen who lives in Hudson, who seemed to be reasonably happy with the pending outcome, or what happened at the issue that came to the council table regarding preservation of some values in timber cutting areas around the Hudson area, and seems to be having an outcome that everybody's leaving the table equally unhappy. So it's a good outcome. That's the month. Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, just curious, Mayor Lawrence, with the KDSB meetings, have you heard much chatter about the ambulance staffing in
Yes.
the community?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd ask Henry to provide a 5 or 6 a paragraph that specific for our council, which he said he would do, but I know he's in Ottawa right now with one of our other board members doing some advocacy. So I will give you in a nutshell, our staffing situation has been reduced, but our level of service won't be. There'll be coverage. It'll be covered, and it's just staffing. That's the issue. Not enough staff. So the number of crews are going down here. We hope temporarily, and there will be an emergency medical tech program run here in Sioux Lookout at the high school by 7 generations. That's something that's coming. It's being run right now. Yeah, it started. So there'll be and there are local people in that. So we hope that we can start to get local people. I mean, not that we might have a few already, but the more we can do local people to fill the jobs, the better. So there is a staffing level change here, a crew, but not a service level change. It'll be covered in different ways, and KDSB does that throughout the region, shifting the way they just build their crews and address situations as they arise. So,
Perfect, thank you.
people, if you call 911, you can call any time of day, and you will get an ambulance
Perfect, thanks.
within a certain period of time.
Yes.
And there is a time standard that has to be met, and there's a report on that. I mean, I think sometimes stuff does happen, but
Okay,
it should be
no,
okay.
that's good.
And
Thank
I
you.
hope that I'll get an official summary from Henry in the coming weeks that can pass on. And then we come to our confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw number 96-23 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout, October 18, 2023 regular council meeting, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by somebody we need out of here. Councillor Lego, all in favor? Carried. And with that, we stand adjourned at 7:45 p.m. Thank you.